Hi there mate, how's it going? It's Benja here, and this is a breakdown and review of 1923 episode 5 titled Ghost of Zebrina. Let's start our episode 5 discussion in Montana, where death and tragedy continue to haunt the Duttons as John's wife Emma offs herself, leaving their son Jack to fend for himself. Kara is still waiting to hear from Spencer, while Jacob is slowly starting to get better. He can walk with some assistance, and he can eat some solid foods, though his recovery will still take quite a bit of time. He doubts that his right arm will ever be fully functional again, so he's gonna have to learn how to shoot left-handed. Zane and Jack have to sell some of their cattle to survive the winter, and Jack has understandably grown bitter at this point. He has lost both of his parents. He craves revenge, but Jacob tells him he is too young and inexperienced to lead at this point. His heart is filled with hate, which means that love has no place in it, and his fiancée Elizabeth gives him an ultimatum because of this, saying that this is not what she signed up for. She has lost both her parents too. Her father got killed and her mother went back east. So she asks Jack to pay attention to her and open up some room in his heart for love, because all they've got now is each other. Jack wants to get married right there and then. They don't need a wedding or a church, he says. They are standing in front of God right now, so they say their vows and that's that. Kara watches them from afar, and later on in the episode, Elizabeth reveals to Kara that they're gonna need an official wedding soon because she is pregnant, which was foreshadowed in earlier episodes. Elsewhere, Jacob asks Kara about the new livestock agents, and she says that the sheriff is taking care of the interviews, but Jacob wants Kara to be there to look them in the eye and eliminate the charming ones because they're trouble. Jacob also suspects that Banner is gonna go looking for someone with a lot of money for assistance, and we already know that he is in cahoots with Donald Whitfield. In fact, there's a great scene in this episode showing a meeting between Donald and Banner in a beautiful house in the city. This house has electricity and gas, and all of this impresses Banner quite a bit, and Donald knows how to keep his allies happy and in check, so he gives the keys to the house to Banner and he and his family will live there. Donald isn't doing this for nothing, of course. Banner has come to him with the news about the now vacant Strafford Ranch, which is to the north of the Yellowstone. He says Donald can swoop in and buy the land from the bank. A big portion of the Strafford Ranch is on mountainous terrain, so mining operations there will be very profitable for Donald. And Donald's plan is to keep buying all the other ranches in the valley, including eventually the Yellowstone. Later on, these two run into Kara on her way to the post office, and Donald introduces himself. He's smug and acts as though he thinks Jacob is alive, but in reality Banner has made him think that Jacob is dead. That's why Donald thinks Kara is probably gonna beg him to buy the ranch following a rough winter without Jacob. Good news awaits Kara at the post office because Spencer has finally sent a cable saying that he is coming home. So for once the episode ends on a hopeful note. Or does it? We gotta go to Africa to answer that question. Spencer and Alex are making their way to Mombasa in Kenya. Mombasa is a coastal city along the Indian Ocean. However, there aren't any ships going to the US. He can go to London first and go to the US next, but the closest voyage is 3 weeks away, so Spencer is gonna have to find another way. Oh, and all of this happens after an ominous voiceover monologue by Spencer's late sister Elsa, who says that this journey to the US will be Spencer's last. We'll get back to this in a little bit. As Spencer looks for a ship, a man points him to Luca, who is taking a tugboat to the Suez Canal, where Spencer can book a ship to anywhere. It's a massive hub. He's not able to go on a bigger ship, a trawler for example, because that would be too dangerous for Alex. She would be the only woman on board, and the deckhands would have their way with her. Even though Spencer agrees to go with Luca on the tugboat, he still tries to leave Alex behind for now and send for her later, because he's worried that this voyage is too dangerous for her. Alex in turn gives him an ultimatum, similar to what happens between Elizabeth and Jack, saying, quote, "We have a life together or we live our lives apart. You only get to choose me once," end quote. And Spencer tells her to get her things. That is a good decision because Alex knows how Spencer can send his wire to Montana. He can't do it directly, but the message can be transferred from ship to ship until it gets to London, and there they can wire anywhere in the States. That is how his message reaches Kara. All is looking good and they board the tugboat, but something smells fishy. And I'm not talking about the literal fish. No, Luca keeps spitting blood, and we learn that his ocean liner, his big passenger ship, was made into a hospital during the war, and some of the patients there were affected by mustard gas and who knows what else. That is probably why his body is giving up on him. Luca teaches them the basics before going to sleep, and he takes over after 6 hours, so Spencer and Alex get to sleep for a little bit, and Spencer wakes up and realizes that the engines aren't running, so he checks up on Luca and realizes that he's dead. And that's not all. The ghost ship they had an encounter with earlier is back. Spencer tries to call for some help, but he's gotta do something about the ghost ship. The tugboat doesn't get out of the way in time, so there's a collision, and Spencer and Alex go flying and we don't see what happens to them. All we get is this image. Their tugboat capsized and they are nowhere to be seen. Now, did Elsa say that this would be Spencer's last journey because he would die during it? Or did she say it because he wouldn't embark on another journey after arriving in Montana? I'm thinking it's the latter, so I believe that Spencer and Alex are alive, maybe rescued, and this image clearly doesn't tell the whole story. This show has an amazing ability to keep you on the edge of your seat. The way they built up the tension with Luca's health problems, his ghost ship stories, and his actual encounter with the ghost ship earlier in the episode was exquisite, and I was waiting for something to go wrong. It was intense and entertaining. I'm kinda sad that Luca is gone this early though, because Peter Stormare is one of my favorite actors and he was great in this. As for the ongoings in Montana, I like the fact that they're taking their time with Jacob's recovery. Banner and Donald make up a fearsome team, and I love watching them work together. Jack and Elizabeth's story in this episode was nice too, because all they've got is each other and they had to realize that, and they did. In the meantime, things get ugly in the res school after they realize that Teonna killed not only Sister Mary, but another sister that sexually assaulted Teonna. Father Renaud goes ballistic on Tionna's cousin and close friend. She insists that she doesn't know where Teonna is headed, and Renaud doesn't believe her. He beats her and eventually kills her. They find Tionna's footprints and go after her, but before they can get to her, she runs into a sheep herder by the name of Hank. He knows Tionna's father, whose name is Runs His Horse, and I think we met him when Jacob gifted Banner's sheep to the res, because Runs His Horse is responsible for the res herd. I'm not sure if Hank is from the same tribe or if these sheep are the sheep from Jacob, but that's beside the point, because Hank agrees to help Teonna. He doesn't think it would be a good idea to go to the res though, because they will look for her there, so this is not going to be a straightforward journey for her. Well, we had to wait a few weeks for this episode because of the mid-season break, but I would say it was worth it. This one was longer than usual. It had a 70-minute runtime, but I never got bored. It was an engaging episode that gave time and attention to a lot of different characters, which is not surprising because that's what 1923 has done from the get-go. So I liked this episode a lot. It was a great return and I'm loving how they're constantly setting up new and interesting storylines. They keep us wondering. At first it was whether or not Jack died. Then we had to find out what happened to Elizabeth and Jacob. Now we are worried for Spencer and Alex. They should know how to keep this exciting. Well, what did you think about this episode? Leave your comments down below, like this video if you've enjoyed this breakdown, and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That is it for now, take care and see you in the next video.